Well, good morning, folks. After 3 days off, it's back to work for me. So we're back to Truck Talk. Today would be November 15th, 2016. And let's get started. I'm going to talk about oil changes today. Something a little different than the politics and all the other crap that's going on in the country. A lot of advertisers are coming out with these, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, 15, 20,000 mile oil changes. And, the engines of today with variable valve timing and a lot of the other features that they have, bearing clearances, the need to get high fuel mileage. There's all kinds of factors involved in making these engines do this. And what's happened is the automakers the engineers and designers have closed up the clearances on these things. We're running a lot thinner oil. We're seeing 0W oil, anything from 0W20, 0W30, 0W40. Sell it every day. General Motors has the Dexos requirement, which is an additive package and a flow rate. There's a whole bunch of specifications involved in it. I'm going to go back to some surveys that were done by a airport shuttle service in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Little airport shuttle service. Ran a whole bunch of Dodge minivans. And these vans were started and run all day, all night. There's they did baggage retrieval, delivery service. They shuttled people from their houses to the airport. I mean, it was basically a taxi service, but an on-call thing. They did oil change analysis at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and they gave up after 7,000 because what they found was one of the elements that was showing up in the analysis is silica, and silica is just basically dirt. It's not to be confused with silicon or silicone, which are two different things. Silicon is used in chips in your computer. Silicone is used in all kinds of things, from medical purposes through gasket sealers. I sell silicone sealers, RTV, and other forms of silicone sealers all the time. But getting back to the oil change thing, what they found out was the levels of silicon, or silica, I'm sorry, now I'm getting confused. The levels of silica were increasing exponentially after the 5,000 mile change. Now, what that means is that the dirt is increasing at a rapid rate, which indicates that the oil filter has reached its capacity. Now, an oil filter has a capacity to hold dirt. It'll hold a certain amount of dirt. That's its job. It removes the dirt from the oil as it passes through. Now, when that oil filter reaches its capacity, there's either a valve in the filter or a valve in the engine, depending on the application, that will allow the oil to bypass the filter. When the oil bypasses the filter isn't working anymore. It's gone on vacation. It's taken a day off. It's resigned. Excuse me. It's done. It's had it. I can't think of any more cliches for that. Anyway, when the oil filter bypasses the oil, that dirty oil is flowing through the engine. And dirt, silica, is an abrasive. And it's like a lapping compound or sandpaper, or like liquid sandpaper, or like a rubbing compound, polishing compound. And it will mess up the bearings and the cylinder walls and the rings and most importantly in the modern engines, there are little passages for the cam timing actuators and timing belt, timing chain tensioners. There's all kinds of little components in there that rely on clean oil because they're hydraulically activated, and that's done with the lubricating oil under oil pressure. What happens when those clog is you lose your variable cam timing. You'll end up with, at worst case, a check engine light, loss of power. It can actually cause severe engine damage if it happens in the wrong setting. So generally what these people found out in Iowa was that the 5,000 mile oil change is your best bet. Now, having said that, I just changed the oil in this rig that we're riding in right now, and it was at 5,000 miles. It was almost exactly 5,000 miles, plus or minus 100. The oil came out relatively clean. Obviously it was black. Oil's black within 1,000 miles. But it came out relatively clean. The oil life indicator, which unlike the earlier oil life indicators, which just track mileage, this one actually has dielectric sensors in it, and it will sense the amount of dirt and contaminants that are in the oil, which include metal, different metals from wear of the engine itself. The oil life indicator was just under 50% oil life, which normally would tell non-educated person in the realm would tell them that, oh, I can go for another 1,000 or 5,000 miles. Well, that's not true, because again, the silica levels are going to exponentially increase as you go along. So I changed the filter, changed the oil. What this tells me is that the oil is actually still doing its job. And if you want to take it, if you're in a situation you need to economize, whatever, go buy a filter, change the filter, start the engine. Of course, you always want to pour oil into the filter before you put it on. You want to prime the filter. Change the filter, and then check the oil level and add what you need to add to bring it up. I've done that. In my earlier years, there was times when I just had to, or if I have a car that uses a lot of oil, I'd just change the filter about every 5,000. Once upon a time it was every 2,000 before we had the modern additives and whatnot that we do now. But just change the filter, add the oil to bring it up to level, and keep going. But watch that oil life indicator, see what happens. Now, another thing that I did, and this will wrap it up for today, another thing that I did was sent out a sample for analysis. I use Blackstone Labs, which will send you, the company will send you the analysis kit free, and then you pay for it. You send them your credit card number, or you register online, send them your credit card number, and they will analyze the oil. And in a future edition of Truck Talk, I'll discuss the results with that. I like to do it with the second oil change because that gives you an idea of how the engine break-in is going on. And then I like to do it with the at 25 and 50,000 miles. I did it at 25 with this one, and this is the 50,000 one. The results at 25,000 were excellent. The engine was actually wearing less than average. But again, I think that has a lot to do with keeping a working oil filter in it and good oil. So I use a semi-synthetic or a full synthetic oil. This time there was, it's a semi-syn, and we'll see what the results are. So again, I had a little bit of feedback on the Facebook page, so appreciate that. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, that is today's edition of Truck Talk for November 15th, 2016. God bless America.